Hello, welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and today we're focusing on Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 184, titled Tokyo Number 2 Colony, Part 4. So we are
Hmm.
continuing the battle that we left off on. We haven't moved totally different locations, but we do have a new fight to talk about. So I'm not going to do this all by myself. I got some other buddies who also write for Screen Rant. We're all writers and journalists and content creators. We all kinds of spectrums of good folks here on Mega Manga Mondays, and I happen to write a lot of video game news and features and stuff like that on Screen Rant, and I happen to have a couple buddies who write in the comics section. So I'll go and let them introduce themselves. Steven, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so hello, my name is Steven. I write for the comic section, like Jason said. I've been doing this for a little bit over a year, mostly writing about Shonen Jump titles, but also doing some other fun stuff like Sonic the Hedgehog, and Beast Wars, and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm very excited to talk about this latest Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, it had personally one of my favorite characters come back, and they got a good amount of screen time and laughs. But yeah, excited to talk about it with you guys. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, I'm Ben. I'm also a comics writer at Screen Rant. Been here for about half a year now. And I write about manga and DC and Marvel comics. And Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the series that I look forward to the most each week. So I'm excited to dive in, especially given that, we've got sort of a new fight going on, as you mentioned.
Wait,
Um,
wait, 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 Ben. Well, are you saying you look forward to Jujutsu more than One Piece?
I say like week to week, I think I'm more excited to see what Jujutsu Kaisen's got going on because you never
Wow.
know what you're gonna get with it. But overall, I look forward to One Piece's like storyline unfolding more. But
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know. We just recorded One Piece chapter 1049 earlier today, and if you go back and listen to that, if you're all the way caught up on One Piece, Ben's excitement levels are quite palpable in that one. So I don't know if we can really compare the two. They're two very different stories and moods and stuff like that. But
yeah.
I was a big fan of 184. I was honestly surprised that we wrapped up the Charles Bernard and Hakari fight so quickly, but I double checked to make sure that they're not jumping around Tokyo colonies. This is the same Tokyo number 2 colony that the fight that we just witnessed wrapped up in. So this is also going on in the same bubble. So I'm guessing we're going to see these two parties clash. And I really enjoyed this fight in this chapter. It was a very action packed fight, but I think it was wrapped up by the end of it. Honestly, like spoilers for the end of this chapter, but things don't go well for my favorite panda character. I loved the humor in this one instantly. Especially, I think my favorite panel is when Panda notices the other sorcerer he needs to fight. He's just doing his best to pretend to be a normal panda, and he just gets on all four, and he's just like, "Yep, I'm a panda." And unfortunately, that trick did not work. So,
And it's actually I actually really I didn't catch this my first read through, but refreshing back on the other character in this chapter, Kashimo, who we actually have seen before for one chapter, and then they never showed up again. But um, Kashimo was actually the one who instituted the rule that Kogane could like give all the participants information on the other players.
ah,
So so it's kind of appropriate that they were like, oh, is that a player? And they're using the sort of thing that they put in place to their own advantage.
yes, information is key, and thanks to that rule, they're able to, figure out where each other are and what their point values are and stuff like that. So, Yeah, when I first saw this character, I was just like, oh yeah, that's the character we saw who just like obliterated some random guy and then instituted the rules. So even before Panda got the stuffing beat out of him, we had the idea that this person is not safe, or it's not some weak character that we're barely going to notice, and especially after the demonstration of their abilities. Not to jump too far ahead, but I honestly don't see anybody being able to beat this character except for Charles. His ability to tell the future at least a little bit is going to be pivotal when it comes to avoiding these lightning static powers.
Well, that's the
Well,
thing.
speaking of static powers, I know that Ben, I don't know if you've written it yet, but you made a pitch about those powers.
Yeah,
How they're
no,
very much
I
like
was,
domain expansions, but better. Well, not better, but yeah,
yeah,
different.
but Kashimo doesn't need to use a domain expansion. They can just sort of have a surefire hit no matter what because of their cursed energy technique with the static and stuff. Because they just set up a positive charge on their enemy and they've got a negative charge, so electricity flows towards their enemy directly. Um, so I'm not sure that seeing the future will be able to help because even if you know where they're going, the technique will still hit you.
Oh, true, but at least Charles hopefully will be able to convey that information to others because it just seems like right now, obviously, with this being the newest chapter, it feels so OP. Like,
Yeah.
it just feels like I could instantly just. I mean, it exploded a super panda, and I was really excited to see this new form of panda, and my hopes were dashed within 2 pages.
I mean,
So,
I think, well, I mean, even though Panda's a really fun character, I just don't know that he peaked for me really early. Like his main thing was when he was fighting against what was his name?
Mekamaru?
Kokichi? Yeah, no, Kokichi. Yeah, Mekamaru or Muta, Kokichi Muta, just because they were the complete opposite, and it was just the way like it just. I remember it was a long time ago, but how
Mm-hmm.
much Panda was enraged about how no Muta was enraged about Panda, how they're basically similar, but Muta wasn't able to go into the open like him, and it kind of created this really great dichotomy between the two that's kind of been lost for me with Panda, unfortunately. But
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same way, but for me, I feel like we still have a lot of development we could do with Panda.
oh,
And
plus he's fun too, like you were
oh,
saying.
yeah, and
He's
he's
just
fun, but it's like I was really hoping that this was going to be like, oh, great, we're going to get into more Panda stuff. I mean, because especially after the death of his father, the principal, like we haven't gotten a lot of like emotional growth or moments with Panda, kind of figuring out who he wants to be in this world now. I feel like
yeah,
there's
you're right.
definitely a lot of potential there. And I was excited for it at the beginning of this chapter, and by the end of this chapter, I'm not sure we're gonna get that.
Yeah, even
I
like one
mean,
of my favorite lines. It's really short. I don't know.
hey,
It's just when he says like even pandas can cry. I
Oh
remember
man,
that. Like yeah, I was hoping. Yeah,
too
like
soon,
too
man.
like looking at this, I was like, man, I wonder if we're gonna get more of that inner deep pandaness. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
crave deep pandaness.
I do think Panda is still alive after that attack because
Yeah,
Kashimo's like Kashimo asks him like where's Sukuna, which I feel like Kashimo wouldn't do if Panda was just dead.
right.
But and like if you notice in the attack, like one of Panda's eyes is gone, but the other eye is still there. So maybe we'll see the sister attack actually go through. Like maybe it doesn't need both eyes. Maybe just one will do.
Oh yeah, I
'Cause-
don't think this is the end of Panda, but I think it's the end of Panda in this fight at least. Because definitely through his first major fight with Mekamaru, we had it established that he essentially has like three, I don't know what you want to call them,
like
souls.
cores.
So yeah,
Yeah.
cores like cursed energy cores, or I forget what they officially called them, but yeah, as long as he still has one of those, he can still recover and whatnot. And yeah, as you said, at the end, uh, Kinemo, is that her name?
Kashimo.
Their name? Kashimo? Okay. Yeah, Kashimo at the end was still asking questions. So I'm sure Panda will still have something to say. I'm just hoping in the weekend state they don't, finish him off. But
Mm.
I'm
You
very curious about this new form because he wouldn't put this much work and have such an interesting, cool looking design just to not have it ever, do anything throughout the entire series. So I'm sure we'll see it eventually. But yeah, Steven.
no. I mean, I know one of you mentioned it, but I really got excited just when Sakuna was mentioned. Because I mean, even though this whole calling game is exciting, like there was a part of me that felt like why we were talking about in our last podcast how we really needed to get to Kajaku or get
Mm.
back to Tengen just because we needed like more of those bigger forces to kind of put everything back in perspective. The fact that this character is interested in Sakuna is very interesting because it kind of just adds an extra dynamic to this whole fight or to this whole culling game that will make it even more interesting than what it was originally presented to be. So even though it's just like a small comment, it was kind of like it kind of like revived this whole culling game, and it's like, oh man, there's a whole other angle to this fight. Like I thought that was fun.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
actually
especially
go, Ben.
uh, yeah, especially if they actually do kill Panda, and then like when they finally face off with Itadori, like it gives Itadori like a an emotional connection to them because he'll be like, "You killed my friend, and now I gotta kill you" or something.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite bits of this culling game so far is the introduction of sorcerers throughout history.
Yeah.
So there's the potential for exactly all of those like linked relationships, and this is just another one of them. I mean, previously, was it Pompadour guy? Was the one that like mentioned Tengen, and he's just like, oh, that shut in would still be around. So it just like adds so much extra context. And Sukuna being like the king of curses, one of the most feared creatures to ever exist on the planet. He was bound to have some allies, some very powerful allies that as soon as I found out, or, it was hinted that this calling game was going to include former sorcerers and stuff like that, I was like, oh boy, I'm sure we're going to see like sort of like a former Sukuna organization, or at
That would be
least,
awesome.
yes,
Yes.
Mm.
sort of like most, big animes. You got the bad guy, and then he's got the half a dozen or so henchmen. He has exactly the amount of henchmen as protagonists that we have. So then they all get paired off and fight. I'm not sure if Jujutsu is going to do that, but yeah, very,
Yeah,
very curious to see how they're related to Sukuna. And I mean, also it means, Itadori might just be there and be like, "Hi, I'm Yuji Itadori." She's like, "Well, bring out Sukuna." He's like, "Well, Sukuna, are we gonna get more Sukuna? You think, or do you think?" Because I'm not sure if he's come out since Shibuya.
No, it hasn't been since Shibuya. I'm really hoping. I mean, that just the mere fact that they mentioned it. I mean, it's definitely a trigger word. I mean, it could be like a red herring, but I mean, I think it definitely hyped me up at least. So I think there will be more of Sukuna.
well,
Um,
yeah, I definitely think there's gonna be more of Sukuna, but I think the reason why they're mentioning Sukuna, because they clearly are from around the same time as Sukuna,
right.
and in their first appearance, they were like, the sorcerers of this time are also weak. I need an actual fight. Where's Sukuna? You know. Um,
Possibly.
so I
Yeah.
think that's why they're asking about Sukuna. And yeah, they could have been allies with Sukuna, but I think it's more just like they were rivals or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's a huge possibility, and that could be pretty exciting too. Because, then it would just kind of set up Yuji and this person fighting, and it might not even Yuji could possibly fill that niche. But then again, that would be like the second character that we've been introduced in a culling game that is just looking for like worthy opponents.
Mm.
So I'm kind of hoping that you're wrong and that they that we have something more substantial to kind of link into some other things, hopefully. But yeah, I might
Well,
be wrong.
well, I just going
I
back
wouldn't
to
argue. I wouldn't argue with Gege's assistant on this.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
you're right.
I'm basing this on Kashima's first appearance in chapter 158. Not on any foreknowledge. No, I'm not Gege's assistant, of course.
Right, right.
But in their first appearance, they were like, uh, they said they were all too weak. They were much tougher 400 years ago. Where's Sukuna? And then they instituted the rule to the culling game to sort of be
Ah,
like,
okay.
you know,
Wait, what
uh,
chapter did this occur
it's
in? Is it
158.
Oh,
It
nice.
158?
Yeah, so Kajima was originally one of the two Culling Game participants that they were planning on targeting. Because they're like, they have over 100 points, so we could get them to make a rule.
Yeah, I don't remember this at
Oh,
all.
yeah, I'm starting to remember that. They're saying something like, "Oh, this one person's killed so many people and they have so many points right now." So this is
Oh, yeah. So this is that person.
yeah, so this is
Yeah,
supposed to be like one of the MVP culling game
Oh,
sorcerers.
oh, I wish I knew that when I was reading this.
It
yeah, I,
it
Where were
absolutely
I,
you,
makes sense.
Ben?
yeah.
He was
I didn't
assisting.
realize at first, but then I was like, oh, because I checked in the comments and someone said like that they'd appeared before, and I was like, oh. And then I checked back and I was like, oh,
Now
so
I'm
that's
even
who.
more hyped about this character. Like I was already like I love the whole yeah the negative and positive charging for the ultimate immediate hit. I was already like into it on that level, but now it's like this is a character that was mentioned before and was like, oh man, that just added the hype level even more.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean
Oh, that's cool.
it's even crazier is just like from my interpretation of it, they still have a domain expansion they could use. And I'm wondering
Oh, would
how.
that be like?
Yeah, exactly. Like as crazy and big as domain expansions get, I mean, this character's already capable enough to do this, which I've held off on it enough. Why is Panda's new form like a sexy lady?
Because it's his sister.
It's his sister. Like I have we been. Is this all 100% news? Because I don't remember anything about a panda sister.
When he was fighting against Mekamaru, he like she was mentioned because he transformed into like his standard, aggressive form. Who was I think like his brother, and it was mentioned that he also has a sister, but they didn't actually show the sister.
Oh
So
wow, I don't remember any of that. And when we're saying like siblings, were they other panda siblings, or is it kind of giving us the idea that these cursed stones that are in him each contain like a soul?
well, I think the principal's technique was said to be like sort of like you take the soul from like a corpse and you put it into a thing to act like a sort of like a puppet almost.
Ah, okay.
Um,
Yeah,
so
so I'm on the Wikia page, and it looks like at one point Masamichi revealed to Panda that he was an older brother and sister. But no, that he has an older brother and sister, and that he would
mhm.
understand once he was older.
So wait, who said that to? He said that to Panda
Yeah,
or
Masamichi.
the
Yeah,
principal?
so his dad. Yeah, yeah, principal. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, his dad.
interesting. Okay, so oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. So when this ultimate mega form showed up, I was kind of like, oh, a secret sister. This is gonna be cool. And then half of the body exploded. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, as I said, I'd be incredibly surprised and disappointed in Gege if we never, got to see that in action. But and I'll be legitimately upset if Panda dies like in the next chapter because yeah, I don't think this is enough to put him out for good, but I'm really hoping that, well, especially with the rule in place that they can give each other the points, but we don't know if Panda has any points or anything like that. There's still a lot in the air, but yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, Sukuna. I gotta think about it, but I think Sukuna and Itadori are in a totally different colony, aren't they?
Yeah, they
Okay.
were the last time we saw them.
All right. So I mean, that means that uh, Kashimo has to get through everybody else in this bubble before they can go into another bubble, or maybe she'll be the one to make the rule that allows people to go to different bubbles.
Hmm. Yeah, they do have over 100 points,
Yeah.
so who knows?
But yeah, I've definitely gabbed about the bits of this chapter I liked the most. Do you guys have some bits that you wanted to bring up?
I just wanted to say that, Panda had that like badass moment where, you know, Kachimo's like, "Tell me, where Sukuna is, and I won't kill you." And Panda just smiles, and he's like, "I think I might have had an uncle with that name."
Yeah.
Like, just staring death in the face, and he's not phased.
Oh yeah, because I mean, in his brain, he's just like, well, I still have my sister transformation, so I can handle this. I've got this in
That's
the
true.
bag, and then he didn't.
As far as we know, maybe next chapter he'll turn it around, be like, "I only
Yeah,
need half my head to defeat you."
or maybe it was a shadow clone.
Oh, could be.
I'm
Just turns
almost.
into a log.
What
Yeah, substitutes. That'd be perfect.
what I'm hoping, I mean, at least because it was referenced here. I mean, because Panda, was there to find and negotiate the angel. Um, and I'm hoping, I mean, maybe that will be a precursor for us seeing, that angel again. Because remember, last time we saw the angels when Megumi um, was basically he fainted after his battle with Reggie Star,
Hmm.
and then that angel character came down and picked him up because that's one of those storylines that I've been really wanting to see conclude or at least continue, just because that angel is like the only hope for releasing Gojo. Um, for, so I mean, I think I really want to see that play out, just because it's that character has such a strong connection to a character who has been out of commission for a long time. And actually, there's a person on Twitter. I'm trying to remember their name, but like their whole account is basically just
Oh yeah,
saying how many days Gojo has been like in that
Sealed.
prison realm. Like every day, they're just like they just like
yeah.
respond to it. It's like it's been 300 days now.
I've seen that too. I've seen that next to somebody who's also like, it has been this long since Bloodborne is not available on anything other than PlayStation. I love people who have that much commitment and free time on Twitter to make a tweet like that every day. Um,
I'm gonna look for it while you guys are talking.
nice.
Yeah.
I
Give me a shout out.
honestly, as much as I love Gojo, I feel like his presence would diffuse a lot of the tension.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. No, like I just like the idea of connecting to him, because I'm actually really happy that he's not in this at all, because he could basically just this wouldn't even be an issue right now if he were around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would just need to go from one bubble to another and destroy it and save everybody, and pretty much what happened at the end of the training arc. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Or
It was
the student, uh, I the one arc that the manga or the anime kind of ended on. I can't remember the names that they've given these arcs, but he's done that before.
yeah. I I know narratively that Gojo being gone is what's best for the story.
Yeah.
But man, why did Gege have to make him so likable? You know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He just well, the problem too is like there's not another character in this that is even as close to like as charming. Or
Yeah.
I would say there's other characters that every once in a while they'll almost get to be as fun as Gojo is whenever he's on the scene. But yeah, I mean, other than his big powers, he's also got big personality, and yeah, I agree, it's missed. It's definitely missed.
Yeah. I
Um,
think Hakari has potential to recapture some of that personality, just because he seemed very playful in that fight with Charles.
yeah.
Uh, he's
Oh
got a
yes,
very
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
yeah. Speaking of that, I'm actually kind of happy that that last fight got moved on to this. Like we just like it didn't get concluded. Because I know you guys were talking earlier on the last podcast about like seeing more of Hakari's power. Especially like him. How that his domain expansion will conclude. Just seeing it conclude there.
Hmm.
And I'm actually just really happy that we didn't see that happen because I'm still like in the camp where I don't want his full power to be known until we get to see him like fight in his fight club. Just because like that's like when I got all hyped about him. I mean, I know he was mentioned beforehand, but his association with that fight club is just so cool. Just because it's such a great concept that I want more of his character to come out during that Fight Club, if that makes
Mhm.
any sense.
Well, is the Fight Club gonna show up again? Because he was the one running it, and that was outside any of the colonies.
Yeah, that's why I was like wondering, like when he was first when we first see him with Charles, like I like again, like I thought that he was like searching for recruits for his Fight Club or something, but I have no idea. Like that's all.
Yeah.
I just can't get it out of my mind that like that's what his whole thing is, the Fight Club, and that's what I want to see with it.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I kind of feel like it was just the thing to establish one of the first bits of information for that character to help you build the idea of who he is. Like, he's just the type of guy that hangs out at fight clubs. I'm not sure if it's gonna relate to a huge part of his abilities or something like that, but I too am glad that we shifted over when we did. It's kind of just throwing more fuel onto my theory that Charles and Hakari are going to have to fight bigger bad, and I think we met the bigger bad in this.
That is true. That is good. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's kind of perfectly set up for manga tension wise. I mean, both Hikari and Charles are hurt, but we've gotten a preview of their abilities, and I mean, as annoying and I don't want to say evil, but conceited that Charles was. I don't think he doesn't want to kill Hikari or anything like
Oh,
that. Like, he barely had a reason to fight. So I'm really hoping that Charles was inspired by Hikari's powers, and now he is wanting to get back into manga, and they feel, or at least he feels, reinvigorated. And Hikari kind of has a chunk missing out of his side from that last hit that Charles got on him. So I mean, I think it's perfect for especially if Kashimo shows up to them. They're going to have to team up and deal with it. But yeah, as I said earlier, I think Charles is going to be a key to being able to fight this character because they could so quickly just decimate about anybody. We've definitely been
Mhm.
shown that Yuji has incredibly good reflexes and uh, has definitely leveled up his intelligence when it comes to fighting jujutsu sorcerers. So I think
mm,
he would be able to put up a fight at least. But it's just this chapter did such a good job of illustrating how effective Kashimo is, and
Yeah, and
yeah, I think it's perfectly set up.
I think you bring up a an interesting possibility in that like Hashimo is clearly overpowered in a one-on-one fight because their ability just like automatically makes it so that they can strike their opponent and make that attack hit. But if you have multiple opponents, then you can't really I mean, I guess you could distribute the charge among them, but it wouldn't necessarily you wouldn't be able to hit both of them at the same time with the technique.
Hmm.
So I think the way to defeating Kashimo is actually sort of ganging up on them and like having more than one opponent for them. So if Charles and Hakari join the fight, then that will be a bunch of opponents against Kashimo, and maybe that will overwhelm them. Although I'm sure they have techniques to deal with like fighting multiple people at once. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, going off of that, I'm hoping. I mean, because it's, again, going off of the last chapter, bringing in the whole gamification of the domain expansion. Like, I got excited with this the introduction of the positive and negative charge, and that goes back to the whole Gege's fascination with physics and science and all those things. I'm wondering, I'm guessing like it will probably that negative and positive charging type of fighting is going to be expanded upon to kind of talk about like to do exactly what you're talking about. Like that's what I'm also really excited about. Is I have a feeling that just based on previous physics type attacks, like it can just multiply and multiply upon itself. I
Oh
have a
man,
feeling that's what's going to happen. Like it's just going to be
the
like,
domain expansion.
yeah. I mean, but like the whole thing, I'm trying to remember, like what it had to do with. Oh, yeah, it was about um how to switch from cursed energy to positive energy. It's like the way it was described, it was just like constantly multiplying upon itself. Like the way it was just described, like I'm almost wondering if that's what it's going to be like in this case.
Yeah,
I've just always been fascinated by Gege's use of mathematics, like just the way he uses it, and it always makes it more complicated.
yeah. Well, yeah, and then you bring domain expansions into it, and then it just gets very complicated. But I'm almost curious. I think it'd be really badass if this character, is put up against a wall, and they're like, okay, well, I've never had to use this before, but I guess I'll go ahead
Right.
and give this domain expansion a try. um,
Now you will see my true power.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like if we remember back to when way back when Itadori and Nanami were fighting
Well, that
oh
is
what's
way
his
back.
name? Yeah, what's his name? The body guy. Is that
The guy with the
uh,
body.
he's such a big character, but his name's slipping my mind. The guy who
Mahito?
can control. Yeah, Mahito. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
When
Makito.
they
Yeah,
yeah when they he's such a big character, but he hasn't been in the series for so long.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Um,
know.
I hope he
but
comes back.
he might. But yeah, when they were fighting him, they actually pushed him to the point where he developed a domain expansion,
Yeah.
like on the spot.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
so it could be a similar thing here. Although I'd be surprised if a 400-year-old sorcerer doesn't have a domain
Yeah.
expansion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially the top ranking one in this culling game right now too. So, um,
Yeah.
but I think that would just make this character even more badass if they ended up doing something like that. But yeah, I this chapter kind of had everything that I really wanted in a good Jujutsu Kaisen fight. We kind of in our last discussion where they really instituted the pachinko machine and the info dump. The best way to or to quote Charles, the info dump that was Hikari's domain expansion. This kind of took everything from that, and
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to see really cool fights and stuff like that, and this was 100% physical, like probably one of the most brutal fights we've seen in the series in a long time, actually. I mean, it kind of it's one thing that sort of bothers me, but I totally understand why they do that. But they do it in most media where, okay, we're about to fight somebody who loves dismembering and ripping off arms. Okay, well, how about they enter the scene by ripping off the arm of the guy who has a robot arm?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well,
Mm.
this character is going to absolutely destroy and rip apart somebody. It was like, okay, well, how about we have them rip apart the guy who's like made of stuffing, and and it's like, okay, well, this we can't have it be super gruesome and traumatize people. So this was the most brutal fight we've gotten in a long time. Kishimo is ripping off arms and yeah, exploding people in half, and it was very satisfying after the game info dump that we just had in this last chapter. I think it helped it resonate even bigger with the choice of having this chapter come out right after that.
Yeah, it
I
really shows the multiple strengths in the series when it comes to the fights, where like it can excel both at, the most complicated sort of gamified fight imaginable, and just having a simple, brutal, like, straightforward fight like this one. It can do both excellently and back to back.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm enjoying this Culling Game arc because that sort of stuff is possible. And I'm really glad that so far I haven't really felt like any of these fights have really overstayed their welcome. I think Gege is doing a really good job of pacing this arc so far. And as much as I am anxious, to see where it's all leading up to and that kind of thing, I'm definitely enjoying the ride. I'm not going to be disappointed if we don't get to it for a little bit more, as long as they keep introducing these new and compelling characters. But just don't kill Panda.
yeah.
The guy's been through enough. And as I said earlier, I think he still has some more character development that I'm very curious to see. But I'm almost wondering. I need to. This chapter has made me keep my guard up from now on with Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm like, okay, if he's going to fill the first couple pages with a bunch of adorable things and humor, and it's gonna. The more I'm smiling in a Jujutsu Kaisen chapter, then the more brutal is probably about to be. I noticed that, especially one of my wife's favorite series is Hellsing.
Oh, one oldie.
Yeah.
The
The ultimate
second
version.
version? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And that series is notorious for just having like really cheesy humor, and it's just like way over the top with trying to be silly. And then it's like the more silly and over the top they try to be in the first half of the episode, the more brutal and crazy the last action chunk is going to be. And yeah, Gege just did that in this chapter for me, where I I was really enjoying the humor that Panda was showing off, and then then bad things happen. So
Wait, not to go off too off base, but so your wife likes Hellsing Ultimate and also Tokyo Ghoul. Like that, those are two awesome series. Is there anything else that she likes? It just sounds like she has like the same interests as I do.
well, she's not available. But she's into Demon
My,
Slayer and
my wife wouldn't like that either.
yeah. Oh yeah, I kind of got her into a lot of anime, and she has since started to kind of branch out into series that I'm not 100% into. But yeah, she like I'm not huge into Tokyo Ghoul, but I'll watch it with her a little bit. It's just very soapy. But she seems to like the soapy stuff. But we watch a lot of Demon Slayer together.
Cool.
And yeah, she's about caught up on this. So I'm anxious to talk to her about it when she gets caught up all the way. But I like her. I'm a big fan.
That's a good thing.
yeah. Well, yeah. Anything else about this chapter that you guys wanted to talk about, or do we want to dive right into? I don't know. We've kind of talked about what we think is going to happen next. I think Charles and Hakari are going to be playing a major role. I would be surprised, but not unwelcome. If we have more sorcerers to deal with in this colony. But I think either Hakari and Charles will either show up here, or after Kishimo doesn't get the answers that they're satisfied with, they may just go towards the next closest sorcerers, which will most likely be Charles and Hakari.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually I liked your earlier idea, Jason. Like I would like to see more of, these older sorcerers who have like a deeper connection with each other that kind of create like that extra layer. I
Mm-hmm.
like it when manga do that. Like there's the current generation, but then there's also, previous generations that, they have their own issues, unresolved issues even then. And I would love to see. Like why else would you bring up these older sorcerers? Like it would be a good way to, add some additional lore to the overall series. I think that would be really exciting if they do. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it almost has the potential to succeed where one of the final arcs of Naruto failed for a lot of people was the last war arc.
Hmm.
I won't super spoil it for anybody who hasn't read the amazing Naruto series all the way through, but they eventually institute a technique that brings in a lot of characters from the past.
Hmm.
And so it gives them the opportunity to have a lot of like character moments that they previously wouldn't have been able to, especially with like ninjas or characters that are very very old. And the thing unfortunately with Naruto is they kind of beat a lot of them into the ground or didn't do a good enough job of establishing the character and how they related to everything before things happened. And yeah, I think a lot of manga artists who are working today, who are either new or weren't doing series at the time, have Naruto and Dragon Ball Z to learn from and evolve on what they did in those series. So I'm wondering if that's where he got some of this inspiration from, bringing old powerful enemies and allies from the past into the present in such an interesting way. There's a lot of potential, and I'm very curious to see. Yeah, as exactly what you just said, I'm curious to see how it relates to some of the big characters we have established now. So.
And Black Clover also does it pretty well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think this is where you're talking about where you are right now, but close to where you're coming to. There is a lot of that type of dynamic, like just this. It's not just the fight of the current generation, but also earlier generations. Yeah, I just like it when manga do that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, it can be done really well, and it can be done in a way that makes everything feel like it's dragging on way too long. Um, but yeah, I think that's something series are only getting better and better with. So, Ben, not assistant of the writer of Jujutsu Kaisen, what do you hope will happen next?
I hope that Panda actually, or Panda's sister, I guess, actually does get to show off their technique in the next chapter. Because, as I said, they still got one eye left, so they can probably still do something. Um, yeah, like I feel like, I mean, Gege's a troll, so he couldn't just do this. But like, I feel like you don't introduce something that cool and then just throw it away instantly, never to use again.
Well, yeah,
But
especially if they hinted at it in that first fight. Like, I totally forgot about the panda having siblings bit.
yeah. Well, I mean, time will only tell how much of a troll Gege really is. You know, after the triple domain expansion thing, maybe
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't get my hopes up.
Well, that's the thing I love about Gege is he is a troll, but he's not a troll I dislike, because he'll
Yeah,
usually tease something and then to make it up, he'll have something else cool happen immediately afterwards. So
yeah. I'm
he's a
never
troll I respect.
disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a troll I aspire to be.
exactly.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that about covers our Jujutsu Kaisen 184 Mega Manga Mondays podcast. I'm excited to see what happens with 185. I don't think we're on break next week for it. One Piece is on break next week, but that had such a fulfilling chapter with 1049. I'm okay waiting an extra week because it felt so good. But
Plus, he
yeah,
needs to rest, man. He needs to rest.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I said in our new podcast. I was like, oh boy, these two characters are not going to be ready to party right away. But yeah, according to viz.com/shonen jump, new chapter should be coming out next Sunday. So we'll definitely be talking about Jujutsu Kaisen 185, and very anxious to see what happens from here on. I too hope Panda is not 100% out of the fight. Even bigger hope, he's not dead. I think it would be super dark if we had some of the most adorable panda panels we've ever had quickly followed by his death, that'd be messed up, Gege. I know you're listening, Gege. Don't do it. I know it's already planned. You probably have the next few chapters written already, but don't do it. Anyway,
My lips are sealed.
yeah, send
Yeah,
that message.
could you let us know? Let him know, Ben.
I'll let him know you said that though.
Yeah, invite him onto the
Not through any
podcast.
connection
So
to him, but like just sending a letter or something as a
yeah,
random person.
yeah. Actually, when I'm in contact with Viz, the company that puts all these out, and if you go to the bottom of their page on their website, they absolutely have uh, a spot that you can send fan mail uh,
Oh,
to artists and manga people, and they don't necessarily say, "Oh yeah, I expect them to answer back in a couple weeks," but they say they'll do their best to get that stuff to the teams behind some of our favorite series. So check that out if you're interested in reaching out to some of your favorite artists and writers. Uh, but yeah, I think I'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of Mega Manga Monday. Um, we'll get into some plugs and some recommendations. Again, I'm Jason Hahn. I'm a writer for ScreenRant.com. I write video game news and features and such. Um, my buddies also write comic news, and we do a lot of movie news and stuff there too. So check out Screen Rant for all of your news and interesting articles about stuff you care about, like video games, comics, and movies. I also do a series on YouTube called Honzy and Friends. Play cool video games with friends. We try to make each other laugh. It's a good time. So if you like video games and laughing and smiling, Honzy and Friends, check it out.
I like that.
Yeah, I try. Steven, you got anything you want to recommend or plug, man?
I would just say that I'm really excited by the latest chapter in Undead Unluck,
Oh, cool.
which is horribly, horribly underrated. I'm still waiting. Like it's at chapter 110. I'm still waiting for an announcement that it's going to be adapted into an anime because it really deserves it. But yeah, I mean, just this latest chapter is kind of throwing everything upside down, where a hero is basically going to have to become a villain to save the day. So that I just like seeing that type of dynamic where the hero has to taint themselves to get their job done. It's pretty intense. So
Wow, that does
yeah, it's
sound
good stuff.
interesting. Yeah, I, uh, I think I'm between after I get caught up on Black Clover, which I'm on. I think chapter 300. So I've got a couple dozen chapters left of that. I'm either going to start reading Undead or My Hero Academia Vigilantes, because that's another series that's about to wrap up. Um, but so much manga, so little time. Uh, but yeah, that's actually another plug I should throw out is this podcast, Mega Manga Mondays. We cover series like One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, obviously, My Hero Academia, Dragon Ball Super, Boruto, and if we can get enough people interested in Undead Unluck, yeah, we might start doing that one too. So let us know in some comments. Find us on Twitter at mega, no, sorry, at manga Mondays, and let us know if there's other series you'd like us to talk about. But Ben, how about you, man? Any recommendations or plugs?
yeah. Since Steven is here with us, I will recommend Don to Don, although we've recommended it a bunch. The latest chapter just introduced
Yeah, it's
probably
so
this.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it introduced the series' craziest villains yet, and it's just a blast. So highly recommend.
Dan to Dan.
And yeah, it's just so fun. And then in terms of plugs, I have a YouTube channel now called YGO from Zero, which is meant to trace the evolution of the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game over time. So
That's so
it's
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's pretty fun. There are other series on YouTube that do similar things, but I'm trying to offer a more exhaustive look at the historical formats. So if that sounds like it might appeal to you, feel free to hop on over and give some videos a watch. Uh,
I'm
yeah,
actually
I'm happy.
curious, how do you like go about? I mean, are you watching it or reading it like episode by episode, or are you like how are
Yeah,
you tackling it?
yeah. So what I'm doing is like I'm looking at each release in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game,
Okay.
So, like for instance, the first release in America was through a booster pack through Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon. That's the name of the booster pack. And
Okay.
so then I look at all the cards in that set, and I'm like, okay, what decks can you make out of this that can reasonably like win some games?
Oh
And then
wow.
I like,
Oh, I see.
yeah,
So it's more of a focus on the. Oh, that's cool.
yeah, no. And then I test out all the different decks and figure out, what this sort of game looks like at that point in time. Um, and early on it was kind of messy. It was not very well thought out in different aspects, and so it led to some degenerate strategies. But as time went on, there were still degenerate strategies, but the game got a bit more fun. So
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, I was back when the series was going strong. I was one of those kids who was also into the Pokemon trade carding game, but
Hmm.
I would just play with my friends and we would just not read the rules and just would play how we thought it was supposed to be played. And then we went to like a league, or at least the beginning of a league thing, and they all made us feel like we were really dumb because we were not playing it anywhere close to how you're officially start to play those. And Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of the same way. So I've heard that most of the most popular cards that Yu-Gi-Oh would use in the series are banned in real life because they're too overpowered or something like that.
the
So
the funny thing is that's actually generally the opposite, where like most of the powerful cards in the series, like Dark Magician and Blue Eyes White Dragon, they're actually just terrible in the game. So,
Oh, so it's like
uh,
Pikachu. Pikachu's horrible in the game, but in the TV show, he's like this freaking monster that can't be defeated.
yeah,
yeah.
Pikachu's got the most experience of any Pokemon in the world.
Well, yeah, it's a lot like Ash. He's got 20 years of work experience, but he's only like 12 years old. So
They
And it
actually,
also seems that like at the beginning of every single art or new like storyline, he has to learn everything from scratch. He just like goes
yeah,
like some like crazy amnesia or something. It's like, man, how does it work again?
right.
in one of the later series, they actually reset his age to be like 5 years old or something,
Wait, what?
or like in elementary school.
Wow.
Oh, weird.
And it's like,
It's very weird.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, how did this happen? Like, what?
Yeah, maybe you didn't watch the arc before when he found some Pokemon that like reverted his age.
Yeah, maybe like Dialga or whatever. Just cast a time spell or something.
Yeah, I don't
But
know. It's anime. It's anything could happen. Um,
yeah,
well, yeah. Check out Ben's YouTube series. Is it YGO from Zero?
yep, that's it.
All right, awesome. Well, yeah, I got that info in the comments too, so definitely check that out. But that's been this episode of Mega Manga Monday, Jujutsu Kaisen, 184, and looking forward to 185, guys. And thanks again for your time. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a good one.
Yeah. See y'all next time.
Cool, cool, cool.
Peace.